Let's take a look at a Summer 25 new flow feature called Get Related Records. Now, it's a beta feature, which means that probably not ready for production use yet, but take a look in a sandbox or in your developer org. Now, it's only available initially in the auto launch flows. So in the example that I'm going to create here, we'll do an auto launch flow and then we'll do a screen flow that calls that so we can see it being used. And the advantage of this is it saves you having to perform multiple get records when you want to get the related records to another parent record. Okay, so if you've got the account record and you want to see all the cases or all the opportunities or all the contacts or all of those, which we're going to do in this example, then get related records is a nice new feature. Now, I'll create firstly an auto launch flow. We'll call that flow number 1. And it's going to get all the contacts, opportunities and cases related to an account record. And that account record will be selected when we build the second flow. And that second flow will simply display a list of accounts that we can choose from. And then when we've chosen one, it will call that auto launch flow, pass across the ID of that account, and that auto launch flow will run and get all the related records and then pass them back so we can display them again. Okay, so let's take a look at our flow number 1, and we've called that Get Related Records. As you can see, it's an auto launch flow. And here is the gist of it. So we'll open that one. And you can see here that it includes, so there's a checkbox here when you're doing your, so it's basically similar to the Get Records. But it just extends it a bit further. So you check this box here, and then you go through and you configure how those related records look. Now, this is not quite that intuitive, so this is why perhaps the video is a good idea, and I can step you through and show you exactly how it's done. So when you're creating it, you'll be presented with a screen like this, and initially you'll just have the first object in there that you've configured. In this case, we've configured the account object. And on the right-hand side, you can select the fields that you want to choose for your account. So we've just chosen a few fields there. You can also choose how you want to filter, sort, and store those records. Now, because this flow is going to be called by the screen flow, and we're going to pass across the ID, then we've made a condition in here that the ID in here for this account equals the record ID that we've passed in. We don't need to sort them because we only want the first record. Okay, so once we've done that, that's a configuration for our account object. Just get me the one that we've passed across, and then we can configure the related object. So basically, when they don't exist in here, when you're starting off creating the flow, you just click on the plus sign there to add another object. Okay, and then you can choose your object there. So we've already configured this, and we've chosen contacts, cases, and opportunities that all are related to the account. Now, to do the configuration of the contacts, you'd think that you could click on the name. No, you've actually got to click on the radio button. And then you've got the filter conditions for, if we start with fields, you start with the fields and basically go through and select the fields that you want on there. You can also choose separate sort filter conditions for this one. So we've said none, just get all the contacts. And of course, this is only getting the related contacts. Sort them in ascending order by name and give me all records. We can select the fields as we've done. There's also a preview option that will show you. So there's our account, but down here it will show you our contacts with our fields that we've chosen for contacts. Okay, it doesn't actually preview in terms of pulling back a record for you. It just previews in terms of showing what fields have been chosen. Okay, so we do the same for cases. So we select that, go through, choose our fields, set our selection criteria, and here we've said we only want cases that are not closed. Okay, so only open cases. Sort them ascending by created date and give me all records. Configure those fields. Likewise for opportunities, we only want opportunities that are not closed. Okay, so only current open opportunities in this one. Sort them by amount and give me all the records. Okay, so now when we look at preview, we'll see for all of those objects. So there's the account and the fields. There's quite a few fields selected for account. Contacts, these ones, cases, these fields, and opportunities, these fields here. Okay, before I go on to the assignment, there are some values that we need to pass in and out of this flow. So the first one is, as I've already mentioned, that we're going to pass in the ID of the account that we've selected on the screen flow. So we haven't created that one yet. That's the second flow, but we need the ID to be able to pass into that. So if we have a look in our toolbox, we've got an ID here, a variable here called record ID. It is of data type text because we only need to pass in the ID, and not a collection, but just a single value, and it needs to be available for input. Okay, so it's input to this flow because it's coming in from the other one that's calling this one. Okay, so that's our first variable to get stuff in. Now, when we get these related records, we need to pass them back to the flow that calls them. And there's going to be three collections. There's going to be a collection of cases, a collection of contacts, and a collection of opportunities. So before we can assign them here, we need to define these. And so this is a collection of cases to pass back to the calling flow of type record. Object is case. And we've checked allow multiples so that it generates a collection for us. And we check available for output, okay, because these ones have got to go out from this flow and back into the flow that we've called it from. Okay, so that's cases. Contacts, exactly the same, just a different object. Multiples available for output, and same with opportunities. Okay, a record, opportunities, allow multiple, allow available for input. Okay, so three collections going out, one text value with an ID coming in. Okay, now once we've been called by the other flow and we've got these related records, we need to pass them back into these variables, because the variables that the automatic ones that are created when we run this get related records, we can't define that output on them, okay, like we did with these variables here. So we need to do an assignment and say, okay, what's returned in here, put them into these three individual collections that we've defined for output. So that's all we're doing here, is we're saying the contacts collection equals, and let's just do this one again so we drill down and see what that looks like. So it's from this element here. So it's from our get account plus related, and you can see down here are the related records that have come back from that get related records. Okay, so we've got cases, we've got contacts, and we've got opportunities. This one is the contacts. Okay, so that's how we end up with the get account plus related dot contacts for this one. Okay, and that's it. We come to an end. Okay, so that's our first flow, the one that's basically doing all the hard work for us. Okay, so our second flow will be the one that calls this, And it's pretty simple. We've called this call get related records. It's a screen flow. We're going to do a get accounts, and we're only going to get active accounts. So we'll say active equals yes. Sort them ascending order by name, get all records, just automatically store them, nothing fancy there. Okay, so that's going to get all the accounts that we've currently got in our org and sort them by name, only displaying or only getting and displaying the active records. Okay, next we're going to present this to the end user so they can choose one of these accounts. So we've got a data table here, and the source collection is from that previous element. So it's the accounts that came back from that get accounts. We've included the search bar in there as well. So if you want to, you can use that to search for the one that you want. And then we've configured rows to be single selection only because we only want them to choose one. And they need to make a selection, so that's mandatory. And then in the columns, you can see that we've configured account name, country, and active. Okay, so we just, of course, they're all going to be checked active, but we just wanted to have a couple of fields to display. Okay, now the key part here is at the top, and this is where the call to get related records happens. So in here, when we select that, at the bottom of the page, so here's your normal properties for this screen page, and at the bottom of it is where we configure the screen actions, and the action is to call that get related records. Okay, so you're prompted with what flow you want. We've chosen this one. And you can see that we've passed in record ID. Okay, so we've passed in record ID as being, so this is record ID for the other flow. Okay, remember, because on that get related records, we set that as an input. So saying, okay, you've set that as an input, it needs that. Where are we going to get that value from? Well, we're going to get it from this data table here. No, I've lost it. Here we are. We're going to get it from this data table, and it's going to be the first selected row. So the first row that the end user selects, so the row that they select the account that they want, and it's the ID that we're going to choose. Okay, so that's where we get that from. So there's a table of accounts displayed. They're allowed to select one because we said only allow one, and it's the ID of that one that we're going to pass in to the calling flow, to the flow that we're calling. And yes, we said included. Okay, so that's it. We're done on that. You'll notice that there are no manually created items here. Okay, so they're all created automatically. So nothing manually created there. That was our account selection screen. Now, we're selecting the account. It's going off running the get related records flow, and it's going to return some values. Now, the return values, we're just going to do on a different screen just to make it easy, because the potentially could be a whole screen full of information here, because we're going to get all the contacts, all the opportunities, and all the cases and display them on one page. So that's why I've split them out. Okay, so that's just a header. There's nothing fancy in the page, but we've got 3 data tables, and they're all basically configured the same except different objects. So here's the first one, and the source here is from the get related records results. Okay, so this is from the results coming back. Remember, we configured these 3 collection variables. So that's where the results are coming back from. Okay, if we just remove that, we'll see that from our get related records action, we have results that came back from that action, and here we configure what they are. So we've got the cases collection, the contacts collection, and the opportunities collection. This one happens to be contacts first. Okay, so that's where that data sources come from. That's the only magic really in this part. Okay, the rest of it is just view only, to view the contacts. Configure the rows, the columns. So we just got first name, last name, email, couple of phone numbers. Okay, nothing else there. Similar thing here for opportunities, but this time we're returning the opportunities collection. So basically the rest of it's the same. Configure some rows, view only, and then configure these columns. And same with cases. Okay, so this time it will be cases over here, the cases collection. Okay, and that's basically it. We come to an end. Okay, so before we run it, we need to make sure that we've got some data, so an account record that's got some related contacts and cases and opportunities to properly test our flow. So let's have a look and see what we've got. Burlington Textiles Corporation of America, which you'll be familiar with in a developer org. I've added some additional contacts and opportunities and cases. So we have 5 contacts. On opportunities, we have 5, but notice one of them is closed won. In our get related records, we said only get the opportunities that are still open. So we should only return 4. So that one is closed, so it won't be returned. So only the 4. Cases, we've got 2 cases that are still open, so we should return 2 cases. Okay, so we should have 5 contacts, 4 opportunities, and 2 cases. Let's go run our flow, and it's this one that we'll be running, the second one that we've configured, the call get related records, the screen flow. So let's run that and see what happens. So we'll get a list of my account records. Okay, we've got a few dodgy ones there that we've been testing with, but the Burlington Textiles is the one that we wanted. We'll click on next. Okay, so related contacts, we said we'd have 5 of those, and we do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's all the details. Opportunities, we said we'd have 4 of those because one of them was already closed, so it won't appear. And you can see they're sorted by amount. Got them back to front, but anyway. And then cases, we've got 2 cases, and they were sorted by date, which is not going to really do much because they're both created at the same minute. Okay, so there's to prove that our flow actually does work, and our get related records is quite useful when you want to do something like this, to get those other records that are related to the parent one without having to do a separate add a separate element and do an extra call. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that one. That's the new get related records feature in the Summer 25 release. And remember, it's in beta format, so jump into your sandbox or your developer org, have a play with it, learn how to use it. Probably in the next Salesforce release, it'll be ready for production use. Hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you.